Begin the current Daf Mesech is Gitin Daf. Begin 13 lines down at the top of the Amud, where the Gemara continues in this halacha of our Mishnah regarding if someone brings a get from Medina Siyam, this opening halacha of our Masechta, he has to say b'fanei nachtam, which the Gemara says there is going to be possibly an exception to this rule that of Bavel, even though it's Medina Siyam, it's pretty far away, that you might not have to say b'fanei nachtam or b'fanei nachtam. I'm sure it goes by the Kazik and the Cheskel, turn to the Daf Chaim, doing today's Daf. So we're discussing today's Daf are Bavel, actually a few different elements of Bavel. In Bavel itself, from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, and Aktisman and Be'ardisha, which are two towns near each other, one's in Bavel, one's out of Bavel, regarding from one to the other, and the reverse, would you have to say b'fan nachmanat? But the chiddush of that actually Rabbeinu Tam says, Bezman Hazeh, we're all like people in Mechayzah, we're all coming and going, the items flying, and your next door neighbor, you might not even know his chasimas, and therefore requiring b'fanei nachtav everywhere, and not just from Medina Siyam to Eretz Yisrael. That even if you don't have to say b'fanei nachtav, if you do, it's going to be effective. Sirtut is the halacha when you're writing words from the Torah, you have to carve, you have to score the lines to make when you're writing it on it. And the infamous story of Pelegish Begiva regarding the concubine from the Shevet of Binyamin, who they had the story that happened that many Jews were killed because of that incident. So we begin the current Daf, and Masech is getting Daf Vav, 13 lines down by the top of the Yamid. The Mishnah said, maybe if someone brings from one Medina to another Medina Siyam, we said, when you bring it from one area to another, in Eretz Yisrael is not required. In Chutz La'aretz, they have to testify. So now the Gemara brings Itmar Bavel. So actually, Tosfos qualifies very importantly. He says, the machlekes is Medina le-Medina in Bavel. Why? Because in the Medina Bavel itself, Shmuel, who we're going to quote in a second, would agree that you don't have to say b'fanei nachtav, because even though, as we'll say shortly, he holds the Rabbanim, they're learning, the Yeshivalite, because they're busy with their learning. That's only to say that it's not going to be better than the rest of Chutz La'aretz, but even in Chutz La'aretz, in the same Medina, you don't have to say, because they're Bekin L'Shman Bavel, and this is Eidim Tzur L'Kama when you're in the same Medina. So we're not talking about in Bavel itself, in the Oisa Medina. Neither are we talking about from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, because that's actually machlekes we have later on with Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yosef. So when we're having this machlekes here regarding Bavel, says Tosfos is important just to qualify. We're talking about specifically Medina le-Medina in Bavel. What's the halacha? Like we said, in Chutz La'aretz you have to testify. In Eretz Yisrael you don't have to. What's the halacha with Bavel? So we have a machlekes. Rav Amay says Eretz Yisrael Gitin has a halacha like Eretz Yisrael regarding the laws of Gitin, and that is you would not have to say b'fanei nachtav. Shmuel Amay says Chutz La'aretz has like the rest of Chutz La'aretz that you would have to say. Says the Gemara, let's say it's the following principle that they disagree about, which is the machlekes Rabba and Rabba. The Marsava Rav held Lefisha and Bikin Lishma, that the reason why you have to say b'fanei nachtav because it's not professional Lishma. In Bavel, all Tamid Chachamim, it's the Lakewood of the world. That's what it is. Bavel is you be Chutz La'aretz, but everyone is Tamid Chachamim, so they know the halacha. Marsa Shmuel held no. The reason is like Rava, because there's no witnesses that are there to verify. So when it's Medina, there's also not having witnesses, and therefore you would have to say, isn't that their machlekes? It's the machlekes Rabba and Rava. Says the Gemara, B'Tizber, is that logical? Rabba isle de Rava. We already established in the previous daf that Rabba holds like Rava, and even if they're learned, but if you tell me from Medina, you would have to be Mekayim. So how could Rav say, as halacha like Eretz Yisrael, that you wouldn't have to say, because they're Bekin L'Shma, but still not Eidim Tzur L'Kayim, because of Medina.
Maybe the machlokes is when someone brings a get in Golan.
So Tosfos says that can't be, because even in Chutz La'aretz, B'Oisa Medina, you don't have to say, because you have Eidim Tzur L'Kayim. And they're involved, they know the halacha, they know the Shema, so no one would say that you don't have to say, no one would say you have to say b'fanei nachtav, because it's B'Oisa Medina. B'Oisa Medina, metreft tzechan, and it's also, and they're involved, they know the halacha, so why would anyone say you have to say? Medina says Tosfos, that's their machlekes. That's the question. So if that's the case, then Rabbi isle de Rabba, Rabbi should also require you to say b'fanei nachtav. So Rabbi says, you're right. Everyone holds, even if you hold like Rabba, everyone holds like Rava that there's a concern that you need to be mekaymet. So wait a second. If you need to be mekaymet, so why would anyone say medina bebubble that you don't have to say? I'll tell you why. Rav held even the ikam sifta, since there were set yeshivas throughout Bavel, meaning you had a big one in Surah, you had a big one in Arda, and Talmidim would constantly go from one to the other, and from the other cities to those yeshivas to learn Torah. So therefore, Mishkach Shchichi, it's similar to what we said in Eretz Yisrael, Medina. He said, why don't you have to say B'chan Nechad in Eretz Yisrael? Because, but they didn't kvi, so people are always coming and going. Say also, people are always coming and going in Bavel too, because of all the different yeshivas. What's with Shmuel Saba? Shmuel holds, no, Mesifta is not going to help. Bigger Sayed Tiridi. They're busy with their learning, and therefore they don't recognize any signatures because they don't see any documents. This later on says a little bit more than that. He says that actually they don't even sign because they're so busy learning. But it's not going to give you, it's not going to help you with this concept of mishka shchichi, because the witnesses will know from one place, these people are busy learning, they don't know anything. Chaim Kanievsky didn't know his phone number. They don't know anything. There's just no learning. Right? The wife. It's a good shaila. Must be a good shaila. So, itmanami. Well, no, but they're not going to be able to be Aiden. Right. Itmanami. The Gemara says also we learned that the reason is because of the reason why Rav would say that it's like Eretz Yisrael, Gitin, that you don't have to say B'fanei Nechtav, is because there are mesiftas throughout. Because Amar Rabba, Amar Rav Huna says, Asina Atzmeinu B'Bavel Eretz Yisrael Gitin. We made ourselves in Bavel like Eretz Yisrael for the laws of Gitin. When? Michi Aser Dav LeBavel. When Rav came to Bavel. Why? So, because when Rav came to Bavel, he established a yeshiva in Surah. Shmuel was in Arda. So now people were coming and going between the two yeshivas. Shir Klali on Tuesday, going there for the Shmuels on Friday, whatever. Chumash Shir. Now, but beforehand, not. Because like Rashi explains, even though they were learned, because as the Pasuk says in Melachim Beis, when Yechanya went in Golas to Bavel, he brought what's called Hachedesh V'Amizker Imai, which the Gemara elsewhere and Daf Peches explains that refers to Talmid Chachamim Loipasker Torah Mehem. So they were learned, but that doesn't help because everyone holds as a concern of Eined Mitzvah L'Kaimai. So when Rav came down, Otay says Rav may not even mean Rav, might mean the Rabbanim, the Balei Torah, but whatever it is, when Rav came down, he established a yeshiva, so there were people all over coming and going. So therefore, that's why it has like halacha, like Eretz Yisrael Git. But Shmuel goes, no, that's not going to help because they're busy with their learning. They won't recognize the signatures. Then you have to say B'Pan Nechtav. But Must remember asked on Rav from the halacha of our Mishnah. What's the difficulty? In our Mishnah, we said, he says, Midakem leMizrach. From Rekem to the eastern part of the world, towards the end of the world, is considered Medina Sayam, towards the east of Eretz Yisrael. Now, Rekem itself is Kemizrach, is like the eastern part of the world, meaning which is Medina Sayam. Okay. Ashkelon, from Ashkelon Dom to the south, and Ashkelon Kedom, and Ashkelon has halacha like the south. Akka from Akka itself into the northern part of the world, Akka itself, and Akka has halacha like the northern world. Okay. The main question is from this last point. Bavel is Litzvayna Eretz Yisrael Kaima. Bavel is on the northern part of Eretz Yisrael, and it's between, meaning it's between Akoi, meaning it's further north than Akoi, meaning it's between Akoi and the northern part of the world. It's past Akoi. The Suffolk says a buzz in Yirmiyah. It says, "But Hashem said to me." Says Yirmiyah, Mitzafa and Tiftachara. From the north is where the bad's going to come, meaning referring to Golas Bavel by the Churban by his Rishon. Now, it's not, we learned in our Mishnah, he says, okay, Akka Keret Solagin, like he was the one that was the maker one. And Tanakama held Akka is like Medin Zayam. He said, Akka will be like Eretz Solagin. It says the Gemara, even Rameir is only saying for Akko, the Mekarva, which is close by. But Bavel, which is far away, they're not. How can you tell me that Bavel's like Eretz Yisrael Gitin? What do you mean? Even Akko is not. Maybe Akko is fine, but beyond it not. And Bavel's way further north. How can I have halacha like Eretz Yisrael? Says Gemara, who Moisibla, who Mafachikla? He had asked the question. He answered the question. Labarmi Bavel, except for Bavel, because there's a reason to permit it. Because there it has halacha of Kin Lishma. They have Eidim Tzun Lekame because of the yeshivas over there. You're right. It's the exception to the rule. Now, the Gemara now wants to qualify. Okay, so Bavel is different. So, what are the measurements of Bavel to know? Where does Lakewood End. How do we know what's considered as the area v'haglilim? It's considered as adhechu nahi Bavel. Where's Bavel to know that it has a different halacha than the rest of Chutzlarts? So my papa says kamachlik is a yuchas, and the same machlik we have regarding lineage of ancestry, which the Gemara says in Kedusha Vayin Alf and Alf, that we have an halacha that all the lands are considered like dough, which is inferior, that you can't see what's inside the dough to Eretz Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael is Isla Bavel, because Bavel was the most refined, because Ezra Asayf took out all the nindirige and took them up to Eretz Yisrael, and they left the refined ones in Bavel. So the machlekes over there, how far, where is the area, who's living in Bavel and who's Chitz Le'eh? Kacha machlekes Gitin, that's the machlekes regarding Gitin, if you would not have to say b'fan nechtav or not. V'yismama, he disagrees, says no. Machlekes L'Yuchas, and machlekes is regarding Yichus, aval Gitin, actually Divrei HaKol, everyone agrees that ad arva tinyana de Gishra, which Rashi says until the swamp of the second willow tree, which is close to the bridge. Sounds like a pirate, map or something like that. You take 4 steps back and take out the pistol, whatever. But that's up until where the map is going to take you for the halachas of Gitin for this, that you don't have to say b'fanei nechta. If Chizda, continuing regarding Bavel, the measurements of what's in and out of Bavel, Matzach, he required, if you were bringing a get Maktisvain, from Maktisvain, which Taisa explains it was out of Bavel, and you brought a Lebei Ardashir, which is in Bavel, but as Taisa explains, all you had was the Diglas, which is the Tigris River separating, so it's right over the bridge. If you brought from Aktisvan to Be'ardashir, he said you have to say B'van Nechtav. But in Be'ardashir like Tisvan, when you brought from Be'ardashir, which was in Bavel, like Tisvan to out of Bavel, Loi Matzrach, he didn't require you to say B'fani Nechtav and B'fani Nechtav, which says the Gemara. So is that lema? Shall we say that Ksavar that he holds Lefisha in Bikin Lishma? That the reason why you have to say B'fani Nechtav is because of the Katun of Lishma, the Hani, but these of Be'ardashir, where they were Gemir, they were learned, because if the reason is because of Inin Mitzvah Lekaimoi, so then it should be the same thing either way. Obviously, if there's only one way, obviously it's because we have this concern of that they're not Bikin Lishma. So when you bring from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, there's no such a concern. But from Chutzlarts, meaning from Bavel to Chutzlarts, which are right outside, there's no concern. But from Chutzlarts to Bavel, then there was a concern. Says Gemara, but is that logical to say that that's his reason for this discrepancy? But for Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg, Rabbi holds like Rava. And since it's from Medina to Medina, so you have to Mekayim it either way, even according to Rabba. So rather says the Gemara, no, the Kulam according to everyone being Lekayim, that yes, you need to verify it. But Vahani, the people in Be'ardashir, that even the Azla Shuka the Hassam, since they go to the marketplace of Aktisvain, which was out of Bavel, so they would come to the neighboring outside the town, outside of Bavel, to go shopping. Maybe that's where they have the malls. So Hanoch, those people, they go to Aktisvain, and what happens is when they go there to the marketplace, so they give over testimony, they sign their name over their documents, you're signing the receipts and all these different things. Now, the people in Aktisvain, they have the receipts, all those, credit card receipts, they have all your names signed on over there until the time that they are collected. So therefore, Hanach, the people in Aktisvain, Yodi b'chasim es Yodi dahani. They recognize the signature of the people in the Ardashir. So if a get is being signed in Ardashir and being sent to Aktisvain, you will have Eidim Mitzvah Lekaimai. And even the people of Ardashir are always there, so they can be Mekaimet. But Vahani, the people of Ardashir, B'dahanach, people like Tisman, Lo Yadi, they don't recognize their signatures. Says the Gemara, well, my time, what's the reason? Why don't they recognize their signatures? Aren't they always going there for business? No, because whenever they're there on the market day, on the fair, they're busy with their business. So they're not paying attention to look and to recognize the signatures of the people in that town. So that's the discrepancy. They know theirs, but they don't know theirs. Which Trace actually asked, interestingly, he says, wait a second, why by Shmuel, when he said the yeshiva bachrim are busy with their learning, why don't you say, but everyone else recognized their signatures? They're busy, he's middle learning a sugya of Bikin Lishman, his pace of flying, and he's, hey, please sign over here. Well, okay, he's not paying attention because he's busy with his learning. But they have their receipts. That's where Taisa says that you say that no, because they're so busy learning, they don't have time to sign even at all. He walks out without the receptionist is waving him to sign. That he walks out, he leaves half of his groceries or whatever. So they're not even signing. That's why it's worse over there that no one's going to be able to know anyone's signature. That's what Taisa answers that question. Why over here, at least they will know theirs, because they're coming over there, but they won't know theirs because they're busy with B'Shukai Tridi. Now, continuing with this halacha of this concern of Eidim Mitzrin L'Kaimai, so the Gemara actually brings a very interesting halacha. Rabbi Barvua, Matzach me'arsa la'arsa. He required b'fani nechtav, even going from one neighborhood, like the way Rashi translates, is like a row of houses on one side of the Rishas Rabbim, to the row across the street. So across Route 9, across Whitesville, whatever, meaning across Rishas Rabbim. Well, I hope it's not Rishas Rabbim, we have air. Whatever, but meaning whatever it is. Across the Rishas Rabbim, I don't know if Rashi's dafka on the words Rishas Rabbim, but another neighborhood. So then he required you to say b'fanei nechtav. Rav Sheshes matzach mishchun l'shchuna. He required from a shchuna. So how do you translate a shchuna? So Rashi says stam shchuna. The Gemara Avodah Zarah of Chafaf. It's 3 houses. That's a neighborhood. So you can be cliquey already. You know what I'm saying? Our 3 houses. No one else is allowed. It's a shchuna. So he required from one shchuna to another one. And Rava matzach ba'is shchuna. Rava in the same shchuna, meaning in your 3 townhouses, your row. That not even road, less the 3 houses. You have to say b'fanei nechtav if you're bringing from one house to the next house. Says Gemara, but how could Rava be the one we just mentioned, saying the same shchuna, same 3 houses? How could he say? But he said lefisha eidim mitzvah l'kaimai. So, but there's no witnesses next door. What does that mean? Says Gemara, yeah, because Shani b'nei Mecheza, because the Gemara in Pesachim tells us that Mecheza was where Rava lived. So where Rava lived, Mecheza, denied. People always coming and going. They didn't stay in their houses. They're busy with business. These guys are flying there in Mexico and Alaska. They're in the Amazon. These guys are everywhere. They never stay home, right? So no one recognized their signatures. So therefore, and Taisa actually brings, Rabbi Tam says, Hashta bezman hazeh, no matter where you are, you have to say before the nechta, because although we hold like Rava, not because of the Shema, but everyone's coming and going. No one sits. No one knows anybody, right? People are saying, I don't have any neighbors. I don't know anyone. I barely see my neighbor. Right. So take it.
In terms of being geyser, say because we don't want a situation where someone will say, "Oh." If
the husband will contest, we won't have eidim in the kaima.
What I'm saying is, this guy over here. So he has to say it in his own neighborhood because if he's a shliach for another get when he goes to Mexico, he also has.
No, but we're saying if the husband sends a guy next door, he says, "I want you to bring it to my wife. She's in the bezin next door."
Because we don't want to switch things up because look. We don't want to mess things up because this guy.
Oh, you want to know why couldn't we say a loy plug? I hear you're asking a question. You say, why doesn't there's more loy tachlik b'shlichus? It sounds like we're not going to require, because again, you run into problems if you require things, and if you don't say it.
You run into problems if you don't require it.
I understand. I hear. That's a good question. But the Gemara is saying that you require enough of that. Not for loy plug. The Gemara said you require because people don't know the next door neighbor's handwriting.
You don't want to change things up. If you have to say the phone, you have to say the phone. It doesn't matter if you're next door. On the next block, next row, Tom's River and Brick. It doesn't matter.
It's very easy to say that, but I'm saying they don't like requiring things unless there's a good reason. Right.
The point is that it has to be in front of the shliach that they wrote and they signed the get. What if you can't find the shliach that actually was there? He's going now from here to Bar to give the get, but he wasn't there. Then if you don't have any other shliach, you can't send the get. So.
Well, that's a Lishma.
If it's item tzin l'kaimai and they know how to do Lishma, then use the shliach and let it go. But if you can't have item tzin l'kaimai,
which is what we're concerned even next door neighbors.
That's when you have to connect.
Right.
It's time to find. Just say.
We don't want to require you to say things oftentimes unless it's necessary.
But this all has to be premeditated. A person can't just write again and say, "I'll find a shliach at one point in time," because you're missing the whole. You don't know the situation.
I'm saying, like he's saying that if you require, and I think we answered this the previous time, if you require him to say b'fanei nechtam, he's actually going to have to be there for the writing. He's going to have to be there for the signing. You're making more requirements that we don't want to add on to already the iguna situation. We're only now we're going to because the next door neighbor doesn't know if the husband's going to get this, we're going to be worse off. So we're going to require it. But stam to be machmir leitachlik, we don't want to be. So that's probably what the answer is. Now the Gemara says Rav Chanan Mishtoi, he was talking and he said over the following thing. So Rav Kana Rav Kana brought a get. Now V'lo Yadan, he said, I don't recall Misugel and Nada, was it from Surah to Nada, Im Nada L'Surah, was it from Nada to the Surah? Either way, it was from one of those places. And also coming to the Rabbi came from the Rab. Amalei said to him, do I have to say Vanachman or not? He says, no, late Tzrich, you don't have to, because like Rashi explains, it was in Bavel, and Bavel is like Eretz Yisrael, even Medina, like we said. But as a Gitin Daf, he says something interesting. He says, but if you do it, it's going to be helpful. It's going to work. Says the Gemara, what does it mean if you're going to do it, it's going to be effective? I thought you don't need it. Says the Gemara, no. The husband's going to come and contest, but we're not going to pay attention to him. But you're right, if you don't say, the husband contest, it will be possible. Like we learn the Brisa that even someone who doesn't have to say, if they do say it, it is effective. What's the story? The story of a person Shebi get lefnei b'shmal. Where to find again lefnei b'shmal? Amaloi said to him, do I have to say b'vanach or not? Amaloi says, B'ni mehechanat, my son, where are you from? Amaloi said to him, Rabbi Mikfar Sisai, I'm from Kfar Sisai. Amaloi said to him, you have to say. Why? That you should not require the woman to have to let them to come out to witnesses if the husband's going to contest. After this guy left, Rabbi came in front of him. Amalei said to him, Rabbi, Kfar Sisai is like absorbed into the boundary of Eretz Yisrael. It's closer to Tzipori more than Akai. Which now we learn the Mishnah in our Mishnah, says Akai Eretz Yisrael Gitin. And for full Rabbanon like Pligi, even Rabbanon would say that Akai is not like Eretz Yisrael. It's far away, like Taisa explained. That's really the primary principle. It's not really Eretz Yisrael versus not. It's like, are you close to the main settlements or not? Akai is very far. Across the southern Makaba, across it's very close. Then no one would say you have to say B'vanech. Why are you requiring this guy to say B'vanech? Amalei said to him, Shtoik b'ni shtoik. Shvaig man zin shvaig. Be quiet. Once already went out in the permitted way, it already went out. But one thing we see, that even though he didn't require B'vanechtem, so it still is effective. What says what do you mean? What was Rabbi Loi asking him? He also he told the shliach, not that you're required, it's just because we don't want her to have to come onto this ultimately. So what was Rabbi Loi bothered by? Those who told over Rabbi Shlomo what happened, meaning Rabbi Loi did not hear the end of Rabbi Shmuel's statement. He only heard the first half, say it. He didn't hear that because we don't want the woman to have to come on to aid him, but you're right, it's not that he required it. But one thing we see, but he of this ahani. Now, continuing regarding Bavel, but now differently, like Tosa pointed out. Originally we spoke about Gitin in Bavel from Medina, now we're talking about Gitin brought from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yosef said to Rav Chizda the following question. Gitin come from there, meaning from Bavel, to over here in Eretz Yisrael. Doesn't require for them to say b'fanach v'nachtam. Says Gemara, let's say he holds the Vishem Bikin Lishma. Must be holds like Rabba. But the reason is because that the reason why you usually have to say because they don't know halacha. On the Gemara in Bavel, they know the halacha, and therefore you don't have to go ahead and say b'fanach nachtam. Says Gemara, but is that logical? First of all, Rabba Islay de Rava. Rabba holds like Rava. And therefore you have to be concerned for a nadim to l'kaimai. And the Rabbi says, Gemara, no, the kulam you could say that you're right. Everyone be in l'kaimai. Everyone holds that these are concerned about verification. But since there's many people that are coming and going up and down from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, because these are two holy places, people coming collecting and going and whatever, and giving shiurim and asifis, whatever. So it's frequent, and therefore even for Edom is mitzvah in l'kaimai. But the problem the Gemara has is as follows. Rabbi Yosef said, "Man leimalan." So this is what Rabbi Yosef sent to Rav Chizda. Rabbi Yosef said, "Man leimalan." Rabbi Yosef, who's saying this halacha that you don't say b'fan nechem, is bar samchu, that he's someone to rely on for this halacha. Who said that we should? Who is he that we should rely on him? But moreover, Rabbi Yehuda have a flaw in him, because he once sent to Rabbi Yehuda the following teaching: the people that go up from there, meaning from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. In Kaim Batman, they fulfill in themselves the pasuk in Yoel a negative thing. The Yitnu Haliyel b'Zayna, they give the child for Zayna. The Hayal d'Mach and the young girls they sell for wine. The Yishtu and they drink. So Rashi explains means because they used to go and spend a long time in Eretz Yisrael. They would leave their wives forlorn, and they wouldn't be having children because they're not with their wives. And it's like a very light thing in their eyes about having their children, meaning boys and girls. This is a little different. It says they would, since they spent a long time in Eretz Yisrael, so their sons and daughters would be used as collateral for food. And that's what bezoina doesn't mean, like they're like zoinas for harlots, but because of mezoinos. And actually, Tais brings it from the Yerushalmi, an interesting story. One guy sold his daughter to learn Torah, and he went to Eretz Yisrael to learn. So that's what the pasuk means. Vayal demachu bayan v'yishtu, like the drinking of a wine of Torah. That's a fakif to talk. That guy learned yeshiva, and then his daughter could go work, so he can go learn. Akapanim, that's what he said. The people that come from Babel to Eretz Yisrael, Makim learn yeshivas, they're not doing a good thing because they're not doing appropriate with their wife and their kids. But the main thing is, he quoted a pasuk in Yoel. He wrote it without scoring the lines, meaning without carving out lines in the parchment that he sent it. Now, what's the problem? Because Rabbi Yitzchak says, "Shtayim," when you write two words of a pasuk, kais, when you can write it without sirtit. Shalosh ein kais, in 3 words you cannot write. But in the Brisa we learned, okay, shalosh kais, in 3 words you could write, but arba ein kais, in 4 words you cannot write. So what's he doing, writing a whole pasuk without sirtit? I don't know if we can rely on this Rebbe Vyasa. I don't know if he's a basamcha, someone to rely on. So Abai says, Rabbi Yossi says, wait a second. Atu, do you think whoever doesn't know this halach of Yitzchak, lav gavar Abba, he's not a great person? In other words, you come and ask a Rav something, he says, Shlomo Zalman says, okay, I'm saying because I didn't know that. You know, Bishlam Milsa Tabis, you understand if somebody has a pen of logic, if he wouldn't understand it on his own, l'chai, makes sense. In other words, you could say that he's not a great person because he should have thought of such a svara on his own. But Hagemari is not a svara; it's a tradition. The Gemara Lishmeli, he never heard this teaching of Rabbi Yitzchak. So that's not a great chesaron you found over here in this Rabbi Vyasa as if it's a flaw. Moreover, I'll tell you why we should rely on him. Because Rabbi Vyasa, who the askemar al yad, this Rabbi Vyasa, his master agreed to him. In other words, that Hashem revealed to him a secret to get the real pshat for something that's hidden based on the true reality of what happened. Why? Because there's a pasuk in Sefer Shoftim that is by the infamous story of what's called the Pelegish Begiva, the concubine of Giva, which the pasuk tells us of the Batizna of Pilagshai. Now, although the literal translation of Batizna means that his Pelegish, this person from the Shevet over there, that his concubine, which is like a quasi type of a wife, was Mizana, Taisus says that it cannot mean that. Why not? Because it's obvious from the Pesukim over there that this man wanted to take back this Pelegish after this, what happened. And he says, historically, no one would take back a Pelegish when she was ready with another man. So, therefore, it's obvious that it's going to mean something else. So what does the word Vatizna mean? So we have a machlekes. Rabbi Vyasam, he says, Zvuv Matzala. What happened is that he found a fly in his plate. And he was like, outraged, a fly in my plate, chased her out of the house, and which Tais actually says, because the word Vatizna can mean the word of mezoinos. So in his food was a fleagle, was a fly. During the summer, he says, no, Nima Matzala. He actually found a hair, which Shmuel is going to explain exactly where is that hair, but Taisa says that's a word of, yes, nus means ba'isimakam, meaning he found a hair there. Now, so this was machlekes between Rabbi Yasser and Rabbi Yonasan. Rabbi Yasser encountered Eliyahu Hanavi. Amalei said to him, "My cover Kadosh Baruch Hu. What's the Kadosh Baruch Hu doing now?" Amalei said to him, "Asik b'pelegish begiva." He's involved in the sugya of pelegish begiva. My comment, what is Hashem saying on this sugya? I just had a machlekes with someone. Amalei said to him, "Rabbi Yasser b'ni kachoyma." Hashem is saying, "Manzun Rabbi Yasser zukt azay." My son Yonasan says like this. Amalei says, "Chas v'shalom, Mamika sveika kamishmaya." Is there like doubt in front of heaven, like Hashem doesn't know, like Hashem saying over from me and from someone else? Amalei said the famous immortal words, "Eilu ve'eilu divrei elikim chayim hein." Both this and this are the words of the living God. Meaning, you're both right. How's that possible? Zvuv matzah v'lehikbid, which was interesting. Rabbi Yosef was the secondary pshat, wasn't the primary, but Lamaisa, he was right. The husband found a fly, but he wasn't bothered by that. Nima matzah the hikmah. Then he found the here, and then he was particular. As the Gemara is going to explain what's the reason why. But one thing is we could rely on Rabbi Yasa because you see he had the Ruach HaKodesh from Hashem revealing him the secret of what happened over there in that story. So the Gemara explains because Rabbi Yehuda says, Sivuv Bakara, the fly was in the plate. Okay, that's not such a terrible thing. But Venima Ba'isa Makam, the here was in the area of the genital area, which Rashi tells us, which Tais says that's not the custom anymore, but in the biblical times, they used to remove the pubic hair so that the man having bia should not be endangered, because what happens is it could cause an injury to the male organ because it would become strangulated. Something could happen when it gets stuck in the thicket of the hair. So that bothered him when he found the hair over there. Or another reason is because the fly is just getting disgusted. But venima sakanta, the hair is dangerous. So because of danger, that he was bothered, and therefore she ran away because she was afraid of him, because he was upset about this. Now, Ikadami, those say, actually, no, Idavid Bakara. No, the hair wasn't Ba'isa Makam. He found the fly and the hair in his plate. But Zvuvai Nasa, a fly is beyond the control. What are you going to do? Zzz, you put out a beautiful plate, and suddenly the husband's like, I'm not eating tonight. You're not eating. It's a fly. What it was, Manshild? Because you didn't take care with the getting rid of the bugs in the house. So I'm saying that's an aynus beyond the control. Find those hairs, those shaitel hairs, or whatever in the food. It's already negligence. You could wear netting. I don't get what it takes, but I don't want to find hair in my food, and that bothered him. That was a negligence. But the Gemara takes a moral lesson from this. A person should never place an extra level of fear in his house. Why? Shari Pelegish begiva, this concubine from Giva, Hitalala Bala, Amy Yaseda. The husband was very intimidating, and she got very afraid. The husband, you see that flicker in his eyes with the nostrils flaring a little bit, and she knows him, he gets angry. The Hipila come above us, and it caused many myriads, a myriad is 10,000, many myriads of Jewish people to die, the bloody bath, that was the war over there, Shev Binyamin, because of this husband that was a very intimidating husband. And Amar Rabbi Yehuda Merabi says, whoever induces an extra level of fear in this house, is going to end up causing 3 terrible sins. Gila Arayis, which, as Rashi explains, it comes time for her mikveh time, but it's very cold. She's afraid to say, I didn't go to the mikveh. And she have tashma, she doesn't need it because she's so afraid of him. He said, you didn't, and whatever. So therefore it's going to cause Gila Arayis. Shrichas Dam is going to cause murder, meaning spilling of the blood, like over here, where the woman was, tens of myriads were killed. Or sometimes she could run away. She's so afraid, the woman, which she'll fall into a pit or fall off a bridge or whatever. She's just so afraid of the husband. So you could cause death. And Mechila Shabbos, desecration of Shabbos, because like Rashi tells us, sometimes she's going to light the candle or she'll cook something when it's already Shabbos. She's so afraid of him that, didn't I tell you to prepare? Well, it looks like I could do this, right? Why you wait everything for the last second? And she's so afraid, and he's not going to know. She's going to do Chil Shabbos because she's so afraid of him. Now, Tais actually says from the Braisa of the Seder Olam that actually the day of the Pelegish Begiva was Shabbos. So actually, all those 3 happened in the story of Pelegish Begiva. But the Gisar Ben Chanal actually is not Chil Shabbos but Chil Hashem, which all those 3 were by Pelegish Begiva, is a great Chil Hashem, and that's why we don't count Ivim and Achai. Because as we're going to say in a moment, Avim and Achai also could be caused when you're very intimidating. But we're not mentioning those, because only mention those things that happen by Pelegish Begiva. But many terrible things could happen when you are matl imi yisei b'tech beiser. Now, Amar Rabbi Bachana, he says, related teaching, he says, Hadam Rabban, this is that the rabbis say in the Gemara Masechta Shabbos. Shleisha dvarim tzarech adam leimer. There's 3 things that a person has to say b'tech beiser in his house. Erev Shabbos im chashecha, on Friday afternoon before it gets dark. You have to say the following 3 things. Isartem, did you take off maisa from the fruits that we're going to eat tomorrow? Iravtem, which Rashi here says, the Eruv Chatzeris, did you make that we could carry, did you make the Eruv, what's called the Eruv Chatzeris? Tais says, no, can't be. That's the Eruv Techumen that we're talking about, because we have to go to Simcha tomorrow. Do you put the peanut butter over there that we're going to, we're not going to forget tomorrow that we can't go to the Simcha? And the third one is Hidlik Zaner, which is not a question, because you see, obviously, the candle is not lit. Hidlik Zaner, go and light the candle. But those 3 things, as the Gemara continues on top of Zayin Av, Tzarech, Lememrinu b'nechusa. You have to say it calmly. Kechet el kablim, so that they should accept from him. Not with a broigis punim, not with a saying, Ni, Gitin Daf, where'd you come from? You were on your phone for the last 3 hours, you come in, you say, what's going on over here? Everything, this house is a wreck. Don't say it, you have to say calmly. Now, Amr Bashi says, Anolo Shemili Hadar Rabbi Chana. He says, I didn't hear this teaching Rabbi Chana, meaning that it should be said. It's interesting that he has to tell us this, but Kayam to Mitzvah, he says, I did it from logic. I mentioned Medav Zayin. You know what I'm saying? If you wanted to take steps, you have to say calmly. Now, similarly, the Gemara just concludes on the same theme. Amr Bavo, it says, Lo'ilmi al yatul adam ye'emi yisibetech beis. A person should not induce an extra level of fear in this house. Adam Gadol, a great person, hitl emi yisibetech beis. It was very intimidating. You know, you see sometimes these grace mentioned, but they're very scary. And they gave him something terrible to eat. Who is this? Says the Gemara, you really think that he ate a nish kusha? If we know even the animals of the righteous. Hashem does not cause a stumbling block for them, as the Gemara Ahmed Beis brings in Masechet Chulin. Tzaddikim atzma lekoshkan tzaddik to be nichshel and da'isa. So the Gemara says no. They wanted to give him something great, terrible to eat. What is that? Eva menachai. What happened was that they lost the slice of meat that he liked. Because they were so afraid of him, his servants went and actually cut off a limb from a living animal. They were so afraid because he's coming, the Rebbe Kim, and he's going to want to have his kegel, his chulin, whatever, this, that. They sliced off a piece of an animal, and they went and they quickly cooked it that he shouldn't understand, and he wasn't nichshel, but he almost was nichshel. Now, there's a very important thesis that Rabbi Tam says that the question is only from things of eating. Because it's very disgraceful for a tzaddik to eat a dava asa. And that's why the Gemara doesn't ask from Rabbi Shmuel that we know the famous Gemara on Shabbos that he went and he was learning on Shabbos by the candlelight and he went and he tilted that you see you could be nichshel. It's not like a tzaddik doesn't do that there. It's regarding eating something. And by Yehud ben Tabbai, he killed the Eid Zaymim, it was wrong. And the second parak Subis where he went and elevated Evet Tukuna based on his ruling. Now, Rabbi Tam holds that even though there was eating of, let's say, his wife ate truma, or that's also not. We only ask from the chacham itself; he won't be nechshel. But moreover, the Gemara says there were stories where they ate before Havdalah, even though the Gemara tells a terrible thing that the misa is askara, and also they ate once on Yom Kippur. That's not so disgraceful because that's something that's mutter. It's just at a time that it's asa. The thing that we say that you're not going to be nechshel dva issa of eating is a dva issa treifazach. Shtik chaze, even a chai. That we say HaKadosh Baruch Hu not to be giving takala al yit tzaddikim, but they could eat in the wrong time, or it could be other types of situations that they'll do dvar issa, but not that of eating. That's not going to happen. Thank you to anything hosting us.